What's going on YouTube? Hope you've all been well. Coming back at you today with another e-bike build. We've got the Bafang BBS02B here with the 48-volt battery. Before we begin, if you guys could do me a huge favor and absolutely obliterate the like button. Just kidding. If you could just gently tap it, it helps out the channel a whole lot. And here we are with the bike with our DIY battery hooked up to it. We made this in our last video. If you could go and check that out, that's a pretty cool video as well. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. This is a new GT frame that I picked up on Marketplace. I saw the ad come up 1:30 in the morning. I sent him a message. He woke up to like 40 messages and I had to send him a deposit or else it would be sold. But I got it. So here's the bike we built in the last video. And it was a great bike, great build. But honestly, I just hated the look of it. I just didn't really enjoy riding it. It was very fast, efficient, but I just didn't really think it looked cool. So this bike came up, got it for a great deal, which was great. So here I am throwing it up on the trusted ladder bike stand, and it's been working well for me. Towel down so I don't scratch it. So here I'm using the crank arm removal tool, and sometimes this goes smoothly and sometimes this doesn't. And this was one of those days I didn't expect to run into problems this fast on the build, but this thing was just fighting me like crazy. I don't know who assembles these things, but it was jeezlessly tight. So the threads actually came off and I brought it to a local bike shop. They told me I was SOL, there was nothing they could do about it. So I brought it home, picked up the titanium drill bits, started drilling, removing metal, saw the saws all there. It was a nightmare. Like, it just didn't have to go like this, but I got it, that's all that matters. And I'm back at it. So here I am on my second nightmare, removing the chain. I didn't have a chain removal tool. Here I am showing how clever I am or dumb I am using channel locks and 2 Allen keys. Don't recommend it, but it worked in a pinch. So here I'm using the bottom bracket removal tool. So the threads can sometimes be reversed on this. You want to double, triple check that you're turning the right way. Little clip from the last video, there's the tool. You're definitely gonna need that. So got the bottom bracket out, and similarly to my last build, the bottom bracket actually needed some sanding with the Dremel. That's why I got these nifty safety glasses on here. Had to remove a little bit of metal for it to slide in. Didn't include that. It's probably something you can do with sandpaper, but you know, just so much faster with the Dremel. Now I'm adding some copper anti-shield. I don't really know why, to be honest. I was thinking just maybe prevent some corrosion, just kind of add some lubricant. It's just what felt right, okay? I don't have an explanation. And so slide the Bafang motor in, goes all in now that I removed the metal, and just removing the gear shifter here, as that won't be needed in the main gear there, the main chain ring. That comes off no problems, thankfully, or else I would pull my hair out. And so here's a little gap here. This bike, the shift cables run down beneath the frame, right? So I need to keep a little bit of a gap, and the motor wants to pull up, right? So on my last build, I used this Gorilla tape, and I didn't really like, it was pretty ghetto. So I had some of these little furniture pads around, and the tape on them was pretty great, and they don't really compress that much. So I just wanted to see if that would be a viable solution. Cut them into place, and it's been many kilometers, maybe 600-700 kilometers, and they're holding up great. So that seems to be a viable method. So now just throwing on the battery bracket, and I'm using the same kind of jig for the battery bracket as I used in the last video. I just like to be like ultra secure about things, over, triple, quadruple bolt them. So I've got some hose clamps and just kind of folding down the edges here, heat shrink on it so there's no sharp edges. And I'll show you how I made this in the last video right here. So I just kind of like disassembled it. I Gorilla glued some steel washers to either side just so I wouldn't break the little aluminum there. And then I cut with the Dremel some holes for hose clamps. And then here I used double-sided tape, 3 hose clamps, and a bolt with Loctite. So it was just mega secure. Here you can't really put a hose clamp in and above, so I just added this kind of like locking piece of steel I cut. It was crazy secure. I just wanted to do it a little bit better on the new GT. So I added some Gorilla tape underneath the hose clamps just so it looks a little nicer and I don't scratch up the frame. Now I'm just routing the mega long cables that come with the BBS02B kit. And you know, you could cut them and solder them, but I was not willing to do all that. So this is kind of the route that I've seen that works the best with these long cables. The thing about like DIY builds is there's just cables everywhere. So I picked up some of this heat shrink. It's like a fabric kind of heat shrink, and just wanted to make it look a little prettier, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I should have went a size up so I could get all the connectors there, but honestly, it's not the worst, because if you do have some kind of malfunction on the road, you can still access the connectors. So nothing much to see here, just removing the pedal assist switch, the screen, all the little accessories, moving them over to the new bike. And the new bike has wider handlebars, so it's a little bit less cramped over there. And even still, I don't really need this shifter anymore, so I want to free up more space. Picked up this Tektro handlebar, I believe, or a brake lever, I should say. Move that over, threw on the pannier rack just to make it look uglier. I never use it, but it always just destroys the aesthetics. But I still keep it on for some reason. So here's the handlebars, looking really clean, wider, more real estate, and that brake lever doesn't take up as much space there. So I want to wire in some electronics onto it. Reached in the electronics bag, found the DC to DC buck converter, and I wanted to make a rear light for this bike, because my previous one, I used a battery light and it was always dying, and it was kind of dangerous when you're out on the road and you have no rear light. So printed up this box, and the idea was the buck converter will go in, the input voltage and output voltage will come out the top. Here's 2 holes for hose clamps, or sorry, zip ties, and then the curvature will go around the down tube of the bicycle frame, and then I can just zip tie it there. So printing that up came out real nice, and here it is. So came out pretty good. The lid goes on, just sealed that with some silicone. Buck converter in there, closes real nicely. And here I added a little blade fuse, just in case anything went wrong. I just wanted to pop the fuse instead of frying the controller. So here's a little light I picked up. It's a 12 volt light. That's why I needed the buck converter, to convert the 6 volt output over to 12 volts. And picked up some filament. I love this moment when you pop it and you see the air come in. This stuff, this Eligo stuff, is just cheap, and it's like the best quality I've found. Printed up this adapter because the light didn't really fit where I wanted it to go. So it's just so satisfying taking all your measurements, and then the first time you hold them all up, everything fits just perfectly. So I had these waterproof LED strips here. I wanted to see what would happen if I wired them up in parallel. So here I am just tuning the buck converter. You just turn the little resistor there, and then that will adjust the output voltage. So I needed 6 volts up to 12 volts. So picked the most uncomfortable working position ever, and I got to soldering. And you know how it always goes for me anyways. I soldered the joint, and then I realized I didn't put heat shrink on it, cut it, and then I soldered again with heat shrink. Yes, I don't know why I can just never seem to remember this. But so I got that all up, and then just kind of throwing everything in, throwing in the little blue LED strips here, and then I go over to wire up the red flashing LED at the back. That red flashing LED is just crazy bright. It's nice to use stuff designed for automotive. It was a cool experiment. But I kind of ran into problems though, because I noticed that once I put the multimeter back onto the buck converter of the input, instead of 6 volts, it was actually down to 3 volts at the input of the buck converter, and I was kind of confused as to why that is. So I made a couple posts on an e-bike Facebook group. Everyone was super helpful. They reminded me that the output of that is only 500 milliamps from the Bafang controller. So I'd never seen a voltage drop when you're overloading the amperage. So I decided to test the theory, and I actually snipped off the LED strips here. I wasn't too heartbroken about it because I actually thought they kind of looked a little bit tacky with the blue lights. But yeah, snipped them off. So all I had was the 12 volt rear flashing light. Threw the multimeter back on the input of the buck converter, and it read a healthy 6 volts. So I've never experienced that, but that was the culprit. Now for the front light, here's a little clip from a video I made in the past. This is an adapter if you want to use handlebar lights designed for the the handlebars on the front fork there. So printed this up, a couple prototypes, saw which one I liked the most. One broke there, printed it again in black because it's a black bike, and threw on this light. Pretty nice light. And it goes in with a screw, a lock nut, and it also uses a zip tie. So pretty secure. It's a very cool light. And here it is all in the end. It's a pretty clean looking build. I've put about 600 kilometers on since then, and if I just had to adjust minor things, just like retighten that little lock washer, that little lock nut that holds the motor on in position. That's a very common thing, but everything's been rock solid. The fatter was one of the main reasons why I want to do this. The last bike used like 1.75 inch width tires, and it was fast and efficient, but it was absolutely brutal on the spine. And this bike just looks a little more cool. I just enjoy riding it a bit more. So I'm happy to trade off a little bit of the efficiency for the fatter tires, the comfort. I'm very happy with it. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you could please hit the like button and subscribe, it would really help out this channel. I'm trying to grow this, and every little bit helps, so I really appreciate you guys. Please subscribe and tune in the future for any range tests or just updates on the bike. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day.